Hi guys, it's Mishel, Deception Bytes. Hope you're all doing well tonight. It is 10:33 p.m. Eastern Time and it's July 25th. And we've got a lot of Q to go over. Q has been busy today, so we've got a lot of posts to go over. It's been a very busy and productive news day. Also, we have one post, a straggler left from the 24th that was posted after I uploaded my last video. So we are picking up from where I left off with my last video. We've got one post to cover from the 24th, and then we're going to jump right into the 25th because I think that you are going to find it very interesting and encouraging. So let's go over this one first. This is Q bringing to our remembrance, I guess, a former post of his on July 3rd, 2018, and Q is, making reference to it. It's like 21 days old, and he said, normally, intelligence passed on from a member of the Five Eyes Alliance, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the UK, and the US to another member comes through an official channel for intelligence sharing. However, Nunes, upon reviewing the document that formerly launched the FBI's investigation, said there was no intelligence shared through that official channel, meaning that the intelligence was shared through unofficial means. Q. Now, we've visited this before. Q is referring to his own post here, so he wants us to bring it to our remembrance, and also he shares this one from May 10th, 2018, and it says, read below, slow and carefully. Five Eye. Why do former dignitaries still hold security clearance? And we know that recently there's been a move to strip several members of their security clearance for reasons that are all too clear to all of us. Now, US to US equals logged, flagged, and recorded. So if someone is in the US and they're inquiring about someone in the US using their security clearance, it is logged, it's flagged, and it's recorded. However, if a US person uses their security clearance to look up someone in New Zealand, or they're in New Zealand and they're looking up someone in the United States, there's no logs, no flags, no records, equals US security clearance authorize Five Eye view plus document take. So if they're in New Zealand, let's say, I don't know, maybe Hillary Clinton is in New Zealand and she wants to use her security clearance to look up something on Five Eye about a US citizen. Well, because she's in New Zealand when she's doing it, there's no logs, no flags, no records. So she's able to use her security clearance, and which gives her the authorization to view what's in Five Eyes and take the document. Okay? Now, read above slowly and carefully. Well, I think we just did. And we went over this in the past, but you know what? There's so much that goes on every day. We are under such a barrage of information that it's hard to keep everything straight. It's hard for me to keep everything straight. So I know it must be hard for you guys that have all your daily lives and aren't spending the time in it that I am. So anyway, why do we allow former dignitaries security clearance? And I think that may be something that they are making moves to address, not just in stripping those people that shouldn't have it for reasons of misusing that clearance, but that may be something that's looked at in the future. Anyway, Q says, welcome to the deep state. Future to prove past. So this is all that he is doing, is bringing it to our remembrance right now, because obviously it's going to become important. Now, we're jumping into July 25th, and I myself am quite happy about it because there's a lot of news today that is very encouraging, to me personally anyway. I hope that you will be as encouraged as I am with this news, but let's look at this first. Dick Bove, Trump poised to take control of the Federal Reserve. Now, I am far from an economist or a financial guru, but I can't see how this could be a negative thing. But again, I haven't looked at both sides of it. I think I view this as a positive thing. If I should be concerned, or you think I should be concerned, please leave a message or in the comments below. Let me know, because I'm not even pretending to be the expert here on this. So, but it says Dick Bove, Trump poised to take control of the Federal Reserve. President Trump sharply criticized the Federal Reserve this week, saying interest rate increases are hurting the economy. Trump will have the opportunity to fashion the central bank in the image he would like, as he has 4 vacancies to fill on the Board of Governors. The result could be a more politicized Fed. President Donald Trump has multiple reasons as to why he should take control of the Federal Reserve. He will do so both because he can and because his broader politics argue that he should do so. The president is over-regulating American industry. The Fed is a leader in pushing stringent regulation on the nation. By raising interest rates and stopping the growth in the money supply, it stands in the way of further growth in the American economy. First, he can. The Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve is required to have 7 members. It has 3. 2 of the current governors were put into their position by President Trump. 2 more have been nominated by the president and are awaiting confirmation by the Senate. After these 2 are put on the Fed's board, the president will then nominate 2 more to follow them. In essence, it is possible that the 6 of the 7 board members will be put in place by Trump. The Federal Open Market Committee has 12 members and sets the nation's monetary policy. 7 of the 12 are the members of the Board of Governors. 5 additional are Federal Reserve District Bank presidents. Other than the head of the Federal Bank the Fed Bank in New York, who was nominated by the president, the other 4 can only take their positions as district bank presidents if the board in Washington agrees to their hiring. One of these, the Fed Bank president in Minneapolis, Neil Kashkari, is already arguing for no further rate increases. Second, regulation. Following the passage of the Dodd-Frank Act in July 2010, the Fed was given enormous power to regulate the banking industry. It moved quickly to implement a number of new rules. The Fed set up a system that would penalize banks that failed to obey its new rules. These rules included setting limits as to how big an individual bank could be, how much money the banks had to invest in Fed funds and treasuries as a percent of their assets, which loans were desirable and which were not, where the banks had to obtain their funding, and many, many more, up to and including how much a bank could pay its investors in dividends. These rules have meaningfully slowed bank investment in the economy, the Volcker rule, and they have had a crippling effect on the bank lending in the housing markets. Other agencies have had an impact here also. Thus, of all the government agencies, the Fed has been possibly the most restrictive. The president has already moved to correct these excesses by putting in place a new Fed governor, Randall Quarles, to regulate the banking industry. 3, killing economic growth. In the second quarter of 2018, the growth is non-seasonably adjusted money supply, M2, has been 0. That's right, the money supply did not grow at all. That is because the Fed is shrinking its balance sheet ultimately by $50 billion per month. In addition, the Fed has raised interest rates 7 times since the fourth quarter 2015. Supposedly, there are 5 more rate increases coming. This is the tightest monetary policy since Paul Volcker headed the institution in the mid-1980s. It will be recalled his policies led to led to back-to-back recessions. Current Fed monetary policy is directly in conflict with the president's economic goals. Moreover, the Treasury is estimating it will pay $415 billion in interest on the federal debt in this fiscal year. A better estimate might be $450 billion if rates keep going up. There are a lot of bridges and tunnels and jobs that could be created with this money. Then there is inflation. It is likely to rise if the Fed eases its policies. If that happens, paying down the federal debt becomes easier. On a less desirable note, higher interest rates, lower real estate values, lower rates that stimulate inflation, increase real estate values. Bottom line, the president can and will take control of the Fed. It may be recalled when the law was written creating the Federal Reserve, the Secretary of the Treasury was designated as the head of the Federal Reserve. We are going to return to that era. Like it or not, the Fed is about to be politicized. Now, obviously, this is coming from CNBC. Q is drawing our attention to it. It's obviously going to be a biased report, but I don't know. I'm not up enough on all the, what things affect what in terms of interest rates and so forth to know and to speak intelligently on it. And I would rather be quiet on it than to speak and, just be speaking to hear myself talk because I don't know what I'm talking about. So if any of you are much better versed than I, then please make comments below because I certainly do read them and I know others do as well. So let's go back. And we're going to go on here. So here again, Q is drawing attention to another post, and this post is by an anon, and this anon is quoting Q. So Q is quoting an anon, quoting Q. And here are the two, he's asking a question, this anon. Q is quoting this anon. Federal Reserve ending? And Q responded, structure. Q. You probably remember that post because it wasn't that long ago. It was April 19th, actually. So, yeah. And then Q responds to this over here, and he says, future proves past. So let's go down here, and this is Q responding as well. And we just read this, the one CNBC, Trump poised to take control of the Federal Reserve, and we're going to go to the next one here. Strategist Mark Grant. Trump has a right to call out the Fed if it's not acting in the U.S. best interest. President Trump has a right to call out the Fed if he feels the central bank is not acting in the best interest of the U.S., strategist Mark Grant says. In an interview with CNBC last week, Trump expressed frustration with the Fed's recent move to raise interest rates. The Federal Reserve Bank does not represent the emerging markets or the European Union. It represents the United States of America, Grant says. So, well, I guess it's not that long. I guess I can read it. President Donald Trump has a right to call out the Federal Reserve if he feels the central bank is not acting in the best interest of the United States, strategist Mark Grant told CNBC on Monday. The Federal Reserve Bank does not represent the emerging markets or the European Union. It represents the United States of America, said Grant, the chief strategist at B. Riley, FBR. If the government feels like the Fed's is not working within the policies of the United States government, they have a right to stand up and say something, Grant added in a Squawk Box interview. You have the Fed moving in the opposite direction of the government. Grant said to question the policies of the Fed does not interfere with its decisions. In an exclusive interview with CNBC's Joe Kernan that aired Friday, Trump expressed frustration with the Fed's recent move to raise interest rates and said the central bank could disrupt the U.S. economic recovery. Trump then criticized the Fed monetary policy again in a tweet Friday. The United States should not be penalized because we are doing so well. Tightening now hurts all that we have done. The U.S. should be allowed to recapture what was lost due to illegal currency manipulation and bad trade deals. Debt coming due, and we are raising rates? Really? So, Fed officials, including Chairman Jerome Powell, have raised interest rates twice this year and have indicated 2 more are coming before the end of 2018. Grant, who was previously managing director and chief strategist at Hilltop Securities, said he doesn't agree with the central bank's return to normalcy. He said that if the Fed continues to raise interest rates, it will slow down economic growth. I don't think that the Fed should be raising interest rates at a time when Congress and the president, under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, is trying to grow the economy, Grant said. So, there you go. Now, let's go back. So, Q says 2 + 2 confirmations. Fast. We will never again be under their control. Now, I think he's talking about the Fed. We're not going to be under their control. That's how I read that. And then he says, he ends it as he always does, Q. So, again, this Anon asked, Federal Reserve ending? And Q answered structure. So it's not ending, it's being restructured. And that's evident from the news articles that we just read, that there is a restructure coming, that Trump is going to take control of that, and that he does, in fact, have that right. So, there we go. Now, here is Q, and he is referring to a post by an Anon. This Anon said, "Morning, Q." And Q said, "Happy days ahead, Patriot." Q. Now, this, I hope, is going to put this to bed forever and ever. I have purposefully not delved into the whole R thing because I just felt it was off. And that's how I felt. I was looking into it more and more, and I was still on the fence. I just didn't feel comfortable enough to say, yeah, I think this is something. I didn't feel that, and I told you that, and I will always try to be as truthful as I can with you and as honest as I can, and I just didn't feel that I felt that it might possibly be a distraction, and so I was holding back. And Q has now come out and confirmed that. Here is Q referring to an Anon who says, "Need clarification in order to prevent a movement split. Is R real or fake?" Now, that is true. I saw that myself. I saw, you know what? If we don't get this settled soon, there's a split coming, because there's people that are getting nasty with others because they don't believe the John F. Kennedy Jr. thing, and then there's others that believe it, and they're being nasty with those that don't, and those that don't being nasty with those that do, and that's not good, because we're all on the same team. We're all pulling for the same, it's like we got a wagon in the back, and we're a team of horses, and we all need to be pulling in the same direction. We're all going to the same place. We're all pulling for the same thing. So just picture a team of horses. You start pulling in different directions, and you're not going anywhere. So, yeah. And Q responds to this. So this Anon says, "Need clarification in order to prevent movement split. Is R real or fake?" And Q responds, and this is the definitive answer as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to entertain it further. There is only Q. There is not R. There is only Q. So says Q. That settles that for me. Now, whoever R is, that's been posting on the chan and has, there are what I call helper anons that seem to drop information on the chans, seem to drop sometimes information to those of us that are following Q. And sometimes it's just out there crazy, and sometimes it isn't. And, so I don't know who the person is that was people were thinking was R, but Q is saying here, there is only Q. And again, I'm seeing posts on Twitter that I've been direct messaging Q. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. You're a liar, because Q said he only communicates via that one official channel, which is the boards. Okay, so if you've got someone on your feed saying, "Oh well, I was direct messaging Q," you need to call them out and say, "No, you weren't. You're lying." And the same thing with be careful, because there are other people, putting fake Q posts out there saying, "Oh, this is what Q posted," when you go to the official channel and no, that's not what he posted at all. So just be cautious. You should be questioning everyone, including me. Now, I can tell you that I wouldn't on purpose mislead you, but that's just my word. You really do need to check out what I say too, because I could be misleading you. I'm not. I hope I'm not, but because that's certainly not my heart. I would never want to do that, purposefully. And if I make an error, I do try to correct it when possible. So anyway, there we go. There's only Q. There's no R. There's only Q. Q only communicates via the one channel, which is the chans, the 8chan board. That's how he communicates. He's not direct messaging anybody. He's not sending people private emails. He's not. Okay? So there you go. Let's go on. By the way, I'm not lecturing you guys, because I know that you guys do your due diligence, but I'm just saying it's very easy when you go out to Twitter and you see some of this stuff to get taken in. And not all of my listeners have been with me like a long time. Some of them are just waking up to Q, so it's for their benefit. I don't want anyone to get taken. All right. Now, Q posts this, and he's referring to his own post of February 10th. And it says, "Rest in peace, Mr. President, JFK. Through your wisdom and strength, since your tragic death, patriots have planned, installed, and by the grace of God, activated the beam of light. We will forever remember your sacrifice. May you look down from above and continue to guide us as we ring the bell of freedom and destroy those who wish to sacrifice our children, our way of life, and our world. We, the people." Now, and Q is saying, prayer said every single day in the Oval Office. JFK secret societies, where we go one, we go all. Now, I know JFK was against secret societies, and I think that what Q is saying is that they pray every day, this prayer, but that makes me a little bit, because we don't we certainly don't pray to dead people. That does us no good. So even if we believe that they're in heaven, praying to dead people does not do anything. So anyway, that is Q telling us that is what they pray, and he says, "I," name, insert your name, So do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation on purpose of evasion, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter, so help me God. And this is actually, let's go take a look so I can show you, so you don't have to just take my word. This is our oath of office, and it's the FBI. So this would be the oath that the FBI take at the Academy. Early in the morning on the first full day at the FBI Academy, 50 new agent trainees dressed in conservative suits and more than a little anxious about their new careers stand as instructed by the Assistant Director of the FBI and raise their right hands. In unison, the trainees repeat the following words as they are sworn in as employees of the federal government. I, name, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter, so help me God. At the end of their academy training and as part of the official graduation ceremony, these same new agent trainees once again will stand, raise their right hands, and repeat the same oath. This time, however, the oath will be administered by the director of the FBI, and the trainees will be sworn in as special agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Similar types of ceremonies are conducted in every state by every law enforcement agency for every officer across the country, and each officer promises to do one fundamentally important thing: support and defend the Constitution of the United States. All too often in our culture, we participate in ceremonies and follow instructions without taking the time to contemplate and understand the meaning and significance of our actions. This article attempts to shed some light on the purpose and history of the oath and to further enhance our understanding of the Constitution that we as law enforcement officers solemnly swear to uphold. So, I'm not going to read further because this is the important part, and the important thing is to know where that comes from. And it's an oath that is sworn by FBI trainees, and before they begin their training and after they complete their training as they are sworn into duty. Let's go back here. So, now, underneath that, Q has said, remember, you owe it to your country, to yourself, to your children. We stand with you. The time is now. Q. Now, who do you think he's talking to there? I'll tell you who I think he's talking to. I think he's talking directly to the FBI. I think he's talking to, because he's listing the oath. He leaves the link there where, we can see that is the oath. Now, anybody in the FBI would be aware of that oath and where it comes from, and would be aware of the fact that they said that oath before they began training, and after training was completed, as they were sworn into duty, they would be well aware of that. So that is why Q says, remember. You owe it to your country. You owe what to your country? To defend the Constitution, right? To defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. You owe it to your country. You, members of the FBI, swore this oath to uphold the Constitution, to uphold and defend it. All enemies. You owe it to your country, to yourself, to your children. We stand with you. We, meaning Q, POTUS, patriots. We stand with you. The time is now. Q. He's not talking to us here. He's not. I don't believe that for a second. I believe he is talking directly to the FBI, and he's reminding them about the oath that they swore and saying, remember this oath that you swore. We didn't swear that oath, right? We've never sworn that oath. Not officially. So he's talking to them. He's reminding them. And he's saying the time is now. If you're going to defend the Constitution, if you're going to defend it, uphold it, and defend it against its enemies, its domestic enemies, then now's the time. FBI. That's what he's saying, as far as I'm concerned. Now, here he is referring to the same post, and then below it, there's the post, and then let me see, there's something else here. Oh yes, he added this part here. Okay, and then this I added for extra clarification, but he added after that. So first of all, he's saying, like I just said, he's imploring the FBI, come on now, remember, you owe this to your country. You swore this oath right here to defend the Constitution. You swore that oath. You said that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, to the Constitution, and you took that obligation freely, without mental reservation. So he's saying, remember, you owe this to your country, to your children. The time is now. Q. Then what does Q say? To all, see, this is the other reason why I know this is not addressed to us, because down here he says, to all Americans, please pray. To all Americans, please pray. This is to the FBI. He's imploring, he's pleading with them. Remember the oath you swore. Remember that. Remember that you said that you would well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office that you were about to enter. You even invoked the help of God. You even said, so help me God. So he's talking to him there, and then he's here. He says, now, to all Americans, please pray. And there's a code here. What is that code? And below it says Q plus. So what is this code? Because this code is not for us, I can assure you that. It may be, but I doubt it. And I've seen a few, there was one person that claimed that they believed that it was an airplane. I don't know. I just don't know. But I did find this, and it's interesting. I don't know if it's on target or not. I don't feel one way or the other. I feel more like it's probably not, but it's interesting nonetheless. So the code, this is the code, and this person on the Great Awakening board on Reddit says, okay, so here's my attempt and the logical steps to get there. The JFK prayer, it was posted earlier. Q703 on February 10th. One of the next posts, 145 latter, refers to the JFK conference room and points to a kids page on the CIA website. Q says, would you believe this site is actually used to communicate to rogue operators? At Snowden, John Cold, I don't know. Anyway, I went to that site and put in the code. Hold on, though, for a moment, and I'll come back to it. The 1698 post quotes that the FBI oath, and it's clearly FBI because Q posts the link to it. This is a call to activate faithful FBI agents to do what they are required to do by the very next command. That could be. That command could have been activating those FBI agents that are trying to uphold the Constitution. I don't know. Then the prayer is repeated and the code given. Now the code. Usually, codes have an authenticator to let the decoder know that it is from a legit source. Think trip code on the chans. I'm guessing the B8028 is the trip code authenticator. When we decipher the next piece, ZKDHYQ, though, that through that CIA kids page that Q says is used to communicate to FBI agents, I get a PWSBJ, a password sent by Julian. The rest of that decrypted code would then be the password itself. The FBI agents in the know can take this password and unlock whatever file, server, document that they have. This could be the call to action for what it's worth, which may not be much. Now, that's as good as explanation as any. So then somebody said, I'm assuming the code is not for us. Aren't there WikiLeaks files that have not been opened? I recall people downloading them so they can wait for the code to unlock. And someone said, I believe you are correct. This may be the moment. Someone says, yep, I'm guessing 8chan is on overdrive on this one. Perhaps I will pop in there and lurk around a bit. Yes, I just went in there to have a look. It's always entertaining. Beware the gore shills hitting the board. That's few days. It's disturbing. Filter if you can. 6 separate gore bots today while Q was posting. Shills are getting very shilly. Yeah, ignore the gore, but all of this is much more important than upset stomachs. We need to be strong if we are queasy. I don't know. I haven't seen any gore over there, but I haven't been over there for a little bit. I got something. I searched the code and this video came up. The description is in the binary and it reads, Fed wants war. Fed wants war. We all knew that they wouldn't want to go down without a fight, but we're the majority no matter how they try to spin it. Shit's about to go down, but where we go one, we go all. Never mind. I found it was only uploaded an hour ago. So there's all sorts of people saying all sorts of things on here, but I thought there was somebody that had something that was, it was the Feds wants war, and I don't know. I don't know. There was some other stuff here, but I'm not gonna, because I don't know. I don't think any of us know at this point what this is exactly. It obviously is a code to something, and it means something to someone. It obviously, to me, it seems obvious that it's not for us. But I've been wrong before. I'll probably be wrong again. So there you go. Now let's go on to the next one. All right. Now, the next one is Q, and well, obviously it's Q. Who else would it be? Well, it could be an anon, but it's not. It's Q. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its power in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate the government's long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evidences a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Q. And obviously, this is from the Constitution, and well, or is it from the Declaration of Independence? I think it's the Declaration of Independence. Anyway, it just ran right out of my head what I was going to say. Absolutely took a train to the next stop. Anyway, What was I going to say? Tell me, somebody. I don't know. Okay, now I know. What I'm saying is that is exactly what is happening behind the scenes that we're not privy to. They are throwing off the old guard. They are providing new guards for future security, hopefully, and they are doing away with the old the old ways. That's exactly what is happening. They are, our government has become completely corrupted. DC is corrupt from one end to the other, and it's not necessarily a Democrat thing. It's everyone. And so I think that is definitely what this movement is about, waking us up to the corruption and overcoming it. All right, so again, Q says, hang on here. He's just referring to the same thing again that I just read. And then below, Q quotes or brings our attention to a quote to a post that he said yesterday. You are watching the systematic destruction of the old guard. That's exactly what's happening here. Exactly. You are watching the systematic destruction of the old guard. Power will return to the people. Q. So let's go on. Now, this is interesting. EU blinked. Concessions made. 0 tariffs. U.S. So our goods going to EU will have 0 tariffs placed on them. America first. This is what happens when the POTUS does not sell out. After such an enormous announcement, what questions were shouted at POTUS? After such an enormous oh, I just read that. I don't know what is wrong with me. I must be getting tired. I guess it's 11:14 p.m. So I'm allowed. After such enormous announcement, what questions were shouted at POTUS? Russia delay in meeting Putin, D.C. Eyes open. Mainstream media does not represent the people. The days of our leaders lining their pockets at the expense of the American taxpayer are over. Recent example. And then below he says, go Kansas, Q, and Kansas, of course, is Pompeo. And let's take a look at this. This is an example that Q is giving us of leaders lining their pockets. And of course, he's making reference to the CNN reporter that got kicked out because of shouting questions at POTUS. Okay, report. Business tied to McCaskill's husband get $131 million in federal subsidies. Businesses with ties to Senator Claire McCaskill's husband have received $131 million in federal government subsidies since McCaskill's election to the Senate in 2007, according to a report released Tuesday. The Kansas City Star reported that McCaskill's husband, Joe Shepard, had personal income from investment in federally funded housing projects, receiving money from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, that grew exponentially after McCaskill took office in 2007. In 2006, the year before McCaskill became a senator, McCaskill's husband reported making between $1,608 and $16,731 from these investments. In 2017, 5 years into McCaskill's second Senate term, Shepard reported earning between $365,374 and $1,118,158 in personal income from his investments. There is no direct evidence that McCaskill is influencing her husband's investments. McCaskill does not sit on Senate committees that have oversight over USDA or HUD, but she has voted for spending bills that favor federal affordable housing programs. Shepard has invested in affordable housing projects since the 1970s has seen his investments in those projects skyrocket over the years. The projects Shepherd invested in got $62 million worth of federal money during McCaskill's first Senate term and $69 million in her second term. And I don't think we need to read all of this. It's just that Q is pointing this out as an example of politicians lining their pockets. And we know that if Q wanted to, he could probably give us millions. And go Kansas, I don't know if that's a call out to Pompeo or the fact that the Kansas Star reported it. I don't know. Let's see. Who was this? I think it was the Kansas Star that, yeah, the Kansas City Star. So maybe that's what, don't know. Anyway, let's go on. My mind is turning to mush. All right, now, oh, I love this. Let's go look at here. Look. Oh, this is exciting. I can hardly stand it. It's coming. Wait till you see this if you don't already know. Look at this beautiful man, Mark Meadows. I just filed a resolution with Jim Jordan and several colleagues to impeach Rod Rosenstein. The Department of Justice has continued to hide information from Congress and repeatedly obstructed oversight, even defying multiple congressional subpoenas. We have had enough. Oh, Mark Meadows, we have all had enough. And thank you, Mark Meadows and Jim Jordan from the people. Thank you so much. It is so overdue. Yep. Rod Rosenstein, there he is in the kill box there. Q. Love that short little post. Love it a lot. All right, then the next one, Q is making reference to this post by an anon, and it says, Patriots fight /66, whoever that is. If Rod Rosenstein is dirty, Mueller must also be dirty. If Mueller is dirty, Rod Rosenstein must also be dirty. And Q acknowledges this. He acknowledges this post. So that tells us right there that Q is in agreement, because if he wasn't, he would correct it, as he always does below. So if Rod Rosenstein is dirty, Mueller's dirty. Mueller's dirty, Rod Rosenstein's dirty. So there you go. They'll be all dirty together. Dirty. All right. Now, okay, here's the next Q post right here, but it makes reference to these two posts, and I went out and clipped them out for you so you'd see what they are. Because the first one is by an anon, and it says, breaking, Mark Zuckerberg loses 100 and, oh my gosh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that like, okay, well, is that trillion? 150 trillion? Is it? Wow. As Facebook stocks dive 20% in under 2 hours. Wow. Well, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 zeros. That's trillion. It has to be 150 trillion. Wow. So that's how much he's lost in under 2 hours. Yeah. Pretty wild. Then this anon says, something big is about to drop. Facebook just dropped over 24% in the market. That's huge. Huge. For a stock to take a dive, a stock like Facebook, a major stock like Facebook, to take a dive 24% is massive, colossal. What is happening? There's something going on that we don't know about, right? So, yeah, this anon says something big is about to drop. Facebook just dropped over 24% in the market. Yeah. And then Q referring to these two posts, says, "You'll soon know why." Q. Well, isn't that interesting? Because we don't know why right now. I have been through the news, skippity-doo-dah through the news today, and looking for why that could be dropped, why a drop like that could occur. I can't find anything. Not that I'm the be-all or end-all. I mean, possibly other people have looked as well, but it's obviously not out there, or Q wouldn't say you'll soon know why. Now, soon could be a day, soon could be a week, soon could be a month. I don't know what Q's definition of soon is, but I'd say that it's coming up soon. And because, remember, Q has been saying something big is about to drop. Something big is about to drop. Now, does it have something to do with Facebook? Maybe. Sure sounds to me like it could be connected. But at any rate, we'll soon know. And remember, July is the big month. So I bet you we're going to know this week. All right. Now here's something else interesting. This Anon says, no name in the redacted portion of FISA application. He's asking Q a question. No name in the redacted portion of the FISA application? And Q acknowledges this person and says, when did no name travel to the UK? Q. Well, I've been trying to find that answer, and I don't know. And I hate it when I have to come to you and say, well, I don't know, I don't have the answer. But I really don't have the answer. If any of you know, please put it in the comments below so that we can all know. Because I know a lot of you read the comments, and I certainly do. And so if you have knowledge of when the last time he was that he traveled to, when it was that he traveled to UK, it's probably pretty pertinent. So let's go on from here. Now, all right, the next one, Q is making reference to his own post here. When did no name travel to the UK? Q. Then he's adding some information. What if the UK government worked hand in hand with the Hussein administration, meaning Obama, of course, to sabotage the 2016 election? Now, when Q asks a question, usually, well, in my experience anyway, it's not a question. His questions can usually be statements. We could just as well read this as the UK government worked hand in hand with the Hussein administration to sabotage the 2016 election. We can read it that way because Q's questions aren't really questions. So let's assume then the UK government did work hand in hand with Obama to sabotage the 2016 election. And how did they do that? Data collection, voice, video, bugging, creation of a fake intel dossier using an ex-spy, co-sponsor insurance policy, in regards to the POTUS election. They wanted an insurance policy in case he did get in. They needed something, and we've gleaned that from other posts, other Q posts, that they wanted an insurance policy in case he did get in. How did they do this again? Data collection, voice, video, bugging, fake intel dossier using an ex-spy. They co-sponsored an insurance policy just in case he got elected. And who was involved in that? Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, no name. So there's McCain, Clapper the Crapper. I don't know why that just seems like such an obscene name to me, Clapper. I'm not sure why. Brennan, Rice, Loretta Lynch, Hillary Rodham Clinton, Bill Clinton, Hussein, plus 22 other people. What if Intel masked penetrations to frame Russia? Okay, that's not a question. Again, when Q asks a question, it's a statement. So Intel masked penetrations to frame Russia. They were trying to frame Russia, right? CrowdStrike, servers, Seth Rich, Julian Assange. Why does the UK government desperately want Julian Assange? Well, why do you think? Julian Assange has the goods on the UK government involvement. That would be my guess. That would be the logical guess. Think source files. Julian Assange probably has the source files, right? The more you know. Q. Now, this down here is stuff that I've added, but this is big right here. Now, what Q's saying is the UK government worked with Obama to sabotage the election through all these means. And all these people, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, McCain, Clapper, Brennan, Rice, Loretta Lynch, Hillary Rodham Clinton, Bill Clinton, Hussein, plus 22 others. This Intel masked penetrations to frame Russia. There you go. Now, this still doesn't answer our question as to when he traveled to UK, but I don't think we have the answer to that yet, and probably it will be coming shortly, within the next day or so, I would assume, because that's usually Q asks us a question that we don't have the answer to, and then the answer comes fairly soon after that. So these are just things that I added here myself. This is just a little clip out from Twitter. Strzok, Page, McCain, Clapper, all involved in the takedown of President Trump. This is treason. Clapper, Brennan, plus 22 other high-ups in government, including Clinton's. They, along with the CIA, tried to frame Russia for spying. They were doing in spite of despite the potential of causing World War III. They're trying to frame Russia for spying. And they were doing that in spite of the potential of causing World War III. Well, what do they care? They probably have a safe little bunker somewhere. And look at this. McCain prepares to flee D.C. to avoid 20 years in prison after what he was just busted in the act of. Arizona Senator John McCain is in serious trouble. Now, you know it's serious when they use two serious. They didn't just use one serious. They pulled out the big guns and they used two serious. John McCain is in serious trouble. The recent revelations of his leaking documents, I hate when documents leak, ties to ISIS and specifically the London attack terrorist. Shouldn't that be the London terrorist attack? And specifically the London attack terrorist, that should be terrorist attack, because what's an attack terrorist? Aren't all terrorists attack a terrorist? I don't know. And his ties to George Soros, the McCain Foundation, are all deniable in some way and will likely not lead to a damage. Okay, what were these guys smoking when they wrote this? Lead to any damage of position or reputation, but the latest news to come out is that he was directly involved in the dodgy dossier, which was put together to remove Donald Trump. A legal case has been launched in the UK that involves Christopher Steele, the former spy and owner of OBIS, the company that compiled the dossier, has pointed the finger at McCain, saying that he had copies along with other State Department officials well before it was published. Documents relating to the case also claim that Sir Andrew Wood, a former British ambassador to Moscow and a Russia advisor to former Prime Minister Tony Blair discussed the 35-page dossier with McCain. This is a person discussing information that could bring down the U.S. government with foreign officials. How much clearer does it need to be? Something happened here. Regardless of your opinions on John McCain, whether or not you think he was doing what he believed was right, all evidence so far suggests that he has committed crimes against the United States. He may believe himself a patriot, but he needs to step down from his role. Senator John McCain is a traitor and an enemy of the American people. Over the past few weeks, disturbing information has emerged about his direct ties to Muslim terrorists. Now he's basically owned by George Soros, and how he's been the malicious ass behind the series of leaks on Trump as McCain continues to work in the shadows with top Democrats to get Trump impeached. What is it with these people and the run-on sentences? It's enough to drive an English major to drink. Now, another scandal is exploding on the senator after what a British spy just revealed about McCain's dark past. But unfortunately for McCain, his antics this time are a federal crime and could wind up getting him locked away in prison for many years to come. The liberal media has been working overtime to smear President Trump in any way possible, where they've been shameless with their barrage of fake news stories ever since Trump took office. The most infamous fake news story was when BuzzFeed and CNN used the fake dossier to push the nonsense that Trump hired 2 Russian hookers to pee on Obama's bed, which was later debunked. The fake dossier was compiled and put together by former British spy Christopher Steele and his London firm, who later sold it to Trump's political opponents. As 2 defamation lawsuits are about to be filed against Steele for his fake dossier on Trump, the former spy is now throwing John McCain under the bus, revealing the startling amount of involvement the senator had to overthrow the President of the United States, which is a very serious federal crime. It is a very serious federal crime. So, there you go. And there you are. And here's something else. That's my chair squeaking because I'm just fidgety tonight. Okay. Breaking. London terrorists connected directly to John McCain. It's confirmed. The terror attacks in London over the past month are disturbing to say the least. It turns out that one of the terrorists had a direct tie to John McCain. Let's pause for a minute so everyone can go, ooh, oh. No, I know none of us are surprised by this. I'm just being silly. WorldNet Daily, is that even a real paper? Reports that one of the Muslims involved in the London Bridge attack used to work with the Free Syrian Army. In case you didn't hear about it, the Free Syrian Army is a militia that has been built up by Senator John McCain. McCain is responsible for arming and supporting these people, and therefore gave the terrorist, whatever his name is, a chance to act. We have listened to McCain go around claiming that the FSA is a great force that is going to battle al-Assad's regime and bring freedom to the Syrians. The problem here is this: that is clearly not the case. If there is one extremist in the group, the odds are there are plenty more where he came from. McCain has been arming a militia with terrorist tendencies, but Trump is the traitor? They cannot be serious. Oh, I think they are. I think they are serious. They're absolutely deranged. McCain loves throwing around quotes saying that the war in Syria is not full of dangerous Islamists and extremists. When you cause terror in one of the biggest cities in the world, you are an extremist, period. I would tend to agree. You have to wonder how many other attacks are associated with the Free Syrian Army. It only makes sense that there were more people involved and in particular on that day. When you have multiple terror attacks across one city and one person is tied to a group, guess where the rest usually came from? It is disgusting that McCain has been doing this for years, almost preparing these people to come after the U.S. It is going to be interesting to see the mainstream media's take on this event. The odds are they won't even mention it. In fact, we bet the liberal stations don't even pick it up. You know what? I would bet the same. On the conservative networks, the story will get covered and guests will be brought on to speak about McCain's involvement. But once the liberals get straightforward question But once the Liberals get asked a straightforward question, they are going to start talking about how we need to leave McCain alone because, well, Trump and Russia. All they can do is parrot the phrase, Trump and Russia, while deflecting from real issues. They can't even explain the alleged Trump and Russia connection, proving it is a case of deflection because they realize how idiotic they look. We need to get an investigation going into John McCain and the FSA. There is more dirt here than initially meets the eye, and we deserve to know. What do you think about this? Comment below. No, I'm not going to comment below, but I'll tell you what I think about it. I think it sucks. I think that it's great that the connection has been made, but I want to see justice brought. I really do, just like you all do. Certainly. Now Q is posting this from an anon, and this anon posted this meme, and pardon my language, but oh shit, Q was right. Now, here comes the pain. Facebook, death spiral, stock plunges 24%. And beneath it, Q says, something big is about to drop. Q, furthering our suspicions that the something big that is about to drop has something to do with Facebook. Or possibly more than just Facebook, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. And let's go to the top here, to the next one. And did I make it big enough? Jeepers. Okay. Now, Q here is responding to an anon who says, and this is from June the 12th, just a reply to Q from last thread about Ingram interview. It was an awful interview, once again weak, ineffectual, limp-wristed promises to hold a vote, to hold Rosenstein in contempt. Who cares? Until Rosenstein is hauled off by the House Sergeant at Arms as granted per the Supreme Court, it means nothing. Anyone remember Holder? Nothing happened to him. Nothing. This pisses me off to no end. Just close the list and crush them already. What the hell is Trump waiting for? So Q is posted this from this anon from June 12th, and then beneath it, and this was his reply back then to this person, full weight of the House versus ARM. Why are optics important? How does DC work? Why is Ryan still in office? Lame duck? Why is Ryan leaving office? Who controls Ryan? Oddest engaged? Q. Then, in response to all that, Q says, relevant today. News unlocks. Q. Now, why is it relevant today? Well, it's relevant today because Rosenstein is going to be impeached. Now, this person from Twitter, forgive the language, but y'all don't effing get it. But the biggest news today is the move to impeach Rod Rosenstein. QAnon followers have known this was coming for weeks, but today we are vindicated. Most people don't even know who this guy is. And you're right. A lot of people don't know who Rod Rosenstein is, and Q, those that have been following Q have known that the impeachment of Rod Rosenstein was coming. So yeah, today this is relevant today. This person saying, why doesn't when is this going to happen? Well, today. Well, it's been put in motion today. Excuse me. Now, here's another one from Twitter. This is not from Q. Obviously, these are just things that I stuck in there. And this person, Patty Gardner, oh joy, this will go down as a hilarious, I don't know how to pronounce that, day. Number 1, impeach Rosenstein, Congress resolution. Number 2, U.S.-EU trade negotiations success. Number 3, Facebook stocks tank. 4, CNN banned from the White House. Shall I go on? And I liked that. I liked it a lot. And Here's Mark Meadows. Here, now this person put it together with the Q posts, and I just filed a resolution with Jim Jordan and several colleagues to impeach Rod Rosenstein. The DOJ has continued to hide information from Congress and repeatedly obstructed oversight, even defying multiple congressional subpoenas. We have had enough. Now, we had read that before, but this person had put it together with several other Q posts, which are too small to read, but yeah, sorry, too small for me to read, but I'm not sure why I stuck it in there. I was, probably doing drugs. I don't do drugs. No, I seriously don't. Seriously. I may sound like I do occasionally, but I don't. Now, Republicans begin impeachment proceedings against Rod Rosenstein. We have had enough, and that was from Zero Hedge, and I do believe that this is the end of the Q post for today. Sorry I haven't been on my game much today, but I'll do better tomorrow, I promise. Promise. Yes, let me just check to make sure that's the last one, and it is. So we are up to date with the Q posts, and I will be back tomorrow, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. And I hope you guys have a good night and that you stay safe.